The Autumn Readathon starts today. Yay! It is October 22nd, Sunday, October 22nd. I just wanted to get some leaf throwing in just to give Matthew Sharapa a smile. But I'm very excited about my first readathon. I've never been in a readathon before. I made a whole TBR video about this before. I've got all 7 books here now, which I'm really excited to read all of them. The readathon runs until October 28th, Saturday, October 28th. So we'll see how many of them I get through. I don't think I'm gonna get through all of them, but it's good to have goals in life, isn't it? So we'll see how it goes. I have already talked about all these books, why I'm interested in reading all of them, and now it's just deciding which one I want to read, and I don't really know how to do that. So I think a fun thing might be to just line all of the books up and then close my eyes and spin around and then try to pick a book. But I think this could be a bit dangerous. I don't know how it's gonna go. I might stumble and fall or really humiliate myself. I don't know. We'll see. So this is a readathon started by Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings. I'll put a link to her video below if you want to join along. And since I've never done a readathon before, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna go about filming. I'll try to film bits every single day about how I'm getting along, but I don't think I'm gonna post a video every single day because that seems like a lot of work, and I just don't have time, and I'm very impatient. So what I think I might do is post it in 2 parts, like I'll post the first 3 or 4 days and then post the second part to show how I got on for the last part of the readathon. Difficult to decide, but we'll see how it goes. So here we go with the random selection process. And here are the 7 novels. Let's spin around and see which one I get. Ah! Let's try that again. I got Strange Heart Beating. This is really cool. I've been wanting to get to this one so much. The cover is awesome and I've heard really good things about it. So I'm gonna get down to some reading this afternoon. I don't have many plans for the rest of the day. Later this afternoon I'm going to go see the movie Geostorm in the cinema, which I'm so excited about. I love a good disaster movie. If you watched the last tag video I did, the Booktube newbie 2.0 tag that I did, I talked all about my absolute love for disaster movies. So I don't even know what the disaster is in this movie, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna see how it goes. But yes, first I'll sit down to some reading, make myself a cup of tea. I have a chocolate torte that I made yesterday when some friends came around, so I'm gonna have a slice of that and get into this story about a woman being killed by a swan. So I've got my tickets for Geostorm, IMAX 3D. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely awful, but you know, a lot of fun. And I've read about 50 pages, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's a very thoughtful, quite mournful novel about a man who's lost his wife after she was killed by a swan. The man is trying to learn what his wife was really about by reading these letters that were sent to her in Latvian, so he can't completely understand them, so he has to sort of Google search for some of the words in the letters to try to understand what they're about. He's on a trip to Latvia to try to figure out more about her life and a man that wrote to her. So yeah, I'll see what that's all about. It's quite fitting because this is my novel for the challenge to find a novel set in a cold location. So I have some time before the film. I'm gonna go to a cafe and read some more and get out of busy Leicester Square. So it is Monday the 23rd of October. I'm on my lunch break currently. I was gonna go to the gym and work out, but I think I'm gonna skip that because I'm starting to feel a little bit under the weather, and some people in my office have been getting sick, and so I'm sort of worried that I might be coming down with something as well. Any excuse not to go to the gym, really. So I'm going to skip that for today. I did see Geostorm yesterday, and predictably, it was awful. It was absolutely atrocious, but absolutely hilarious. I think we laughed through like half the film because it was so bad. The situation was ridiculous. The acting was awful, and yeah, but was really funny. So it wasn't as great as 2012, obviously, or some other great disaster movies, but was just, yeah, a lot of good popcorn fun. So I've still been reading Strange Beating Heart. I'm about 130 pages in. I'm hoping that I'll finish it today. I'll probably do some more reading during my lunch break, and then this evening. I was hoping to read more last night before bed, but I got really tired and just fell asleep. So like I said, it's a very like melancholy novel, and it's a sort of interesting depiction of a relationship because you get this idea, it sort of alternates with the husband going to Latvia and finding out about his wife's past with diary entries from the past 15 or 20 years from her. And so you get these alternating narratives, which is building up to not so much a picture of a relationship, but a picture of how two individuals in a relationship were very isolated in different ways and how they differently experienced loneliness. So I'm finding it quite moving and effective, and yeah, I'm eager to see how it resolves itself. So I'm hoping to finish up with this soon, and then I will go on to my second read. It is the morning of Tuesday, October 24th. Last night I continued to feel like really bad, like coming down with a cold, and was just feeling miserable by the end of the night. So I took a sleep aid and fell asleep for a really long time, which I think was good, like really helped me rest my body, but it meant that I didn't get to do any more reading last night. So this morning I did finally finish Strange Heart Beating. The main character, Leda, she's left all these diary entries behind, and it's never really clear if the husband sees those diary entries or not, but it means as a reader you piece together what happened to her life from things that he finds out, the husband finds out from people that he meets in Latvia, and then the diary entries about her early life and her feelings about the beginning of their relationship. And it's more exploration about the personality of this woman who left her old country of Latvia and moved to the UK and really reinvented herself, and how successful or not she was in doing that. And also thoughts about like our relationships, how much we really know the person that we're with. Thoughts about how sometimes we just project onto our partners the person that we want them to be. And I found it interesting going to read an interview that Ellie Goldstone did with The Guardian a while ago, where she was talking about this, her first novel, and how her personality is really as an extrovert, and so she finds writing quite difficult because she's a very sociable person, which is, I wouldn't have guessed, because reading this novel, it's like all about people who are very isolated, and there's a lot about loneliness. A lot of the people that he goes to meet in Latvia are quite lonely people and sort of isolated and seem very self-contained. This isn't the best advertisement for Latvia either, because she makes it seem like quite a bleak place. But then he doesn't see all that much of the country. Like there's not very much time spent in Riga or any major urban areas. It's mainly out in the country where people are living quite isolated lives. So I quite enjoyed this novel. It's quite a peculiar novel. I'm not sure how much in the long run I'm going to remember it or how much resonance it'll have like over time, but I enjoyed the experience. And now I have to confess that I've been sort of cheating a bit on my TBR list, because I've also started reading some poetry by Anne Michaels from her most recent poetry collection, which I think is called All We Saw. And I'm not sure why I started reading this. I just sort of felt like I needed some poetry, and so I picked it up. I've read about a third of that book so far. But then also this morning I started Such Small Hands by Andreas Barba. And you can see it's a very short novel, so it shouldn't take me that long to get through it. But it's I've read the first section so far, which is only just about like 25 pages, and he has the most beautiful way of describing our sort of disconnect between language and words and the actual thing in real life. describing this little girl who you find out at the very beginning, this isn't a spoiler, that her parents have died in a car accident, and her process of being taken to the hospital and trying to understand the reality of things versus what people are telling her, and what's sort of lost in translation. And there's this horrible sort of grim tension of wondering when the reality will really sink in for her about what's happened and what's going to happen in her life now that she's being taken to an orphanage. And you could like say the word orphanage to a little girl, but it won't really mean anything if they've never been or have no context for understanding what that means. So I've been immediately drawn into and really intrigued by this novel, so I'm looking forward to finishing it. Hopefully I can do that today. I'm just about to head out for work, so I'll have my commute time, and then at lunchtime I'll do some more reading. This evening I'm actually out. I'm going to see the drag queen and champion of RuPaul's Drag Race, Jinx Monsoon, perform. So that'll be fun, but it means I won't get any more reading time until later this evening when I'll probably be really tired, but we'll see how it goes, and I'll check in with you again then. Hey, so it's Tuesday evening. I've gone out this evening, had dinner with my friend Emily, and then we went to see the drag superstar Jinx Monsoon give a performance, a cabaret performance, and I've had a few drinks, and so I thought I would stop here in Trafalgar Square and give you my thoughts about this amazing book that I finished reading today. It's a very short book, so it didn't like take me all that long, but it's this incredible novella all about the experience of childhood. And I've read so few novels that really draw you into the experience of childhood like this novel does. It just makes you feel all that like complexity and riotous emotion, you know, that we experience as children, but like not in a sentimental way, because I think so much of fiction, when it tries to depict childhood, it really wraps it in this sentimental sense. But this gets at the complexity of feeling of that by first focusing on this girl who's left orphaned, and then at the orphanage she's taken to. It really fascinatingly goes into this joint perspective of all the other orphans looking at this girl and how they react to her, how they alternately both love and revile her and sort of make fun of her. And there's this astounding section where the girl tries to initiate at one point this game that's played late at night when all the adults think they're asleep. They take turns pretending to be dolls, and it actually draws you into the experience of one of these girls that are pretending to be a doll, and you just feel how she's lying there as this reflection of all the girls' feelings, where they can confide all their secrets and their emotions onto her, and you just get this profusion of feeling. It's just amazing. Yeah, and I just think this novel is so astounding. It's not just the drink talking. I think this is really a beautiful, amazing novel, and one of the most startling things I've read in quite a long time. Hello, it is Wednesday morning, and I'm feeling surprisingly good. My cold seems to have completely cleared up. Like, I'm no doctor, but my plan for just pumping myself full of cold medication all day and then having lots of wine in the evening seems to have completely cleared up my cold. So that's good. I hope my ramblings about such small hands made some sort of sense. I did just think this was a brilliant novel, and I really wanted to ask, have you read any books that you think really capture the feeling of childhood and adolescence really well? Because I think it's a really difficult thing to do for writers to do. Like, a lot of the time it just comes across as sounding quite bad. I can think of some examples that I think are really great. I mean, my favorite novel of all time, Virginia Woolf's The Waves, the first section of that really captures the feeling of childhood, but she writes it in a very poetic sort of strange way, but captures that collective sense of children together and their imaginations coming together to understand the world. And then also it's interesting, in the afterword to this, Edmund White wrote a afterword to this, which is really praising it and its depiction of childhood. And Edmund White is actually somebody who really captures the feeling of adolescence and childhood really well, like in his classic coming-of-age story, A Boy's Own Story. And then also there's this absolutely beautiful short story he wrote called Record Time. I have this special edition of it because I love the story so much. He writes about this feeling of childhood and adolescence so beautifully. And then there's also a nonfiction book, Hilary Mantel's memoir called Giving Up the Ghost. In the first section of this, she writes about childhood in a really beautiful and striking way. But then also, Joyce Carol Oates is such like a brilliant chronicler of the adolescent experience. She quite often writes about adolescent girls and the conflicted, like, dark feelings of childhood, and she captures that in some of the stories in this collection, which I'll be rereading some of the short stories in this. So let me know about some of your favorite writing that captures the experience of childhood, if you know of any particularly good books. And so I think because of the wine, I've woken up quite early this morning, so I've started reading See What I've Done by Sarah Schmidt, about the case of Lizzie Borden, and she starts the novel writing from Lizzie's perspective of finding her father's corpse. And it is really chilling. I think this is going to be a very creepy read because she draws you into her experience and her sort of warped, very strange point of view. So I'm looking forward to reading more of that. I'm going to finish now, and I'll read some more before I go to work, and then I think I'll post a video of what I've filmed so far, and then post the second half of the Autumn Readathon later this weekend, after the Readathon finishes on Saturday. So I hope you're doing well, I hope you're reading lots, and let me know in the comments below what you've been reading. I'll talk to you again soon.